record button yet, did you?
I just did.
Okay.
Welcome. These sessions will be recorded. I'm pleased you could join us for the Business Education Resilience webinars with 1917. My name is Pauline Marquardt, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, which is made up of members with common interests and concerns related to the business environment in the Bowie area. It is the primary professional trade organization in the Greater Bowie area dedicated to the protection, enhancement, and success of Bowie business and the Bowie community. The Bowie Business COVID-19 Recovery Assistance Program delivers online technical assistance to help Bowie businesses accelerate their post-pandemic economic recovery. This program is a collaboration between the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce and the Bowie Business Innovation Center and funded by the City of Bowie. During this webinar, it is best to be comfortable with your video on. Remember to mute yourself. Please ask questions through the chat unless otherwise directed. Welcome, William Eric Lindsay, Senior Business Counselor of 1917. Always good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Pauline, how are you? And great to see so many folks here. So I can just go ahead and share my screen. Yep. So as Pauline mentioned, this is the Business Education and Resiliency webinars. And my name is William Eric Lindsay. I'm a business coach and senior business consultant of 1917, of which I'm the owner of the company. So it's always a pleasure being here with you, Pauline, and my good friend Rod here. So the first thing I would like to say is I want to just say, express gratitude to the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. You guys picked our team, my team, the team that I put together to present to the small businesses here in the Greater Bowie area. So really want to say thank you to the chamber, and Pauline, you're here, so thank you for taking part in that decision as well. So as everyone, for everyone, as Pauline mentioned, this is a 2-section 12-part webinar series for a total of 25 webinars. The plus one we'll talk about in a minute. So the first section occurred from January to April, and we are now in section 2 of the two-part webinar, the 2-section webinar series. This is webinar number 7. And what we've done is we created a programmatic approach where one webinar builds upon the other. So last week, we talked about the part 2 of the QuickBooks training. The week before was QuickBooks training part 1. And then the week before we talked about financial literacy. And then today we're going to have the great Rod Johnson from the SBA program, who talks a lot about the PPP and the EIDL and other grant opportunities that business owners in our region can actually apply for. He's going to talk about a little bit of what it takes. He's going to answer a lot of questions, so please have your questions ready about filing for these grants, and he's going to give us an update. So it was just timely to have Rod come at the tail end of the financial literacy and then the QuickBooks part, where we talked a lot about the application of financial literacy in the business operations using QuickBooks. So now Rod has so much experience, banking experience and federal government experience in looking at these issues from an interesting perspective, I would say, from the inside out. So that's a really cool perspective to have, and to really see how the sausage is made, if you want to use that analogy in the banking world, and really how to set your business up in preparing for getting your paperwork in order to apply for these federal grants, which, by the way, time is running out, but Rod's gonna give us that information. So in preparation for all this, we're definitely working towards July 15th, which we have a pitch your business competition. We're gonna select the top 3 businesses in terms of who presented their pitch. And we'll select the first place prize, a first place winner, also a second and third place winner. So obviously my pitch to you tonight is really just return for all the webinars. Just sign up. I think we have 5 webinars left. We're going to be talking about marketing, sales and marketing. We actually have Carolina Gomez coming up on the restaurant and the food industry sector. We have Kessie Strebling coming next week, and I'll mention her again later in the webinar. Talk about looking at your business and the mood from working with your HR department and your staff, and keeping people employed and keeping people happy on the job. So with that, I want to introduce, I call him the great Rod Johnson in our region from the SBA office, directly from downtown DC. So Rod, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It's so great to be back and to see those that I can see here. And Eric and Pauline, thank you for having me back. So, guys, there is so much news and information that's going on out there. Okay. So what do we have? So we started out with EIDL. All right. We started this at the end of March 2020, and here we are almost in the June of 2021. But we started with the EIDL program. Then we had the PPP program, right? Y'all remember that. Then we had the Shuttered Venue Opportunity Grant. All right. Now we have the Restaurant Rescue Fund. And my goodness, trying to keep all of this straight has just been, mind-blowing. So let's talk about what's happening. And you know what? I hope you guys have your pen and paper, because this is going to be like a classroom session, okay? Because I want you to take down some of these email addresses and telephone numbers that are actually going to assist you. Because actually, particularly with the Shuttered Venue Opportunity Grant and the Restaurant Rescue Fund, there will be absolutely nothing I can do to assist you, because they have purposely shut out the district office from these two programs, okay? They don't want us to call in and ask, where are you in the queue? They don't want us to fix any of your applications or, tell you which bank funded your loan. They don't want any of that. They don't want us to do any of that. So that's why it's important to take down these email addresses and telephone numbers that I'm going to give you this evening, okay? Now, let's talk about internally what the SBA is calling the new Paycheck Protection Program. Now, you've all heard about round two, or draw two is what they're specifically calling it. Okay, well, that's what they're calling now the new Paycheck Protection Program. So what does that mean? It means that the maximum amount is $2 million instead of, like the first draw, $10 million. Okay, that's the difference. The second difference is with draw two, you have to show a 25% reduction in your revenues, quarter over quarter, year over year. So this is what I mean. Let's pick June 30, since that's coming up. So you're going to compare June 30, 2019 to June 30, 2020. And that needs to show a 25% reduction in revenue, okay? I would get calls about, Rob, well, what about 24.8? In sixth grade, we got to round up to 25. We're not in sixth grade, folks. It's got to be 25% or greater, okay? We're not rounding up. The SBA is not rounding up this time. Okay, so it's got to be 25% or more, okay, reduction in your revenues. And oh, by the way, if you use QuickBooks, you have compiled or reviewed financial statements that you're going to submit, you need to sign and date the income statement, okay, that you actually submit. Because if you don't, the bank's going to send it back to you anyway to sign it, okay? So you got to sign and date it. All right. Now, as we know, 60% of the money was supposed to be used for payroll and 40% for operating expenses. However, if you remember, if you're a single member LLC, sole proprietor, or 1099 contractor, then you could use 100% of the money to pay yourself, okay? So what were you going to do? You were going to take the money and write a check off the PPP account that you opened, segregating the funds from your regular operating funds. Okay, so I hope all of you did that. So you would write a check from that account. And the bottom left-hand side of your check, where it says memo, right? You would write payroll to me, right? So your payroll and then your name. You would deposit that check into your personal checking account, okay? And then you write your check. Now, here's the beauty of that. So now you have your documentation. You have the document from the account, right? The bank statement. that shows where you wrote the account, wrote the check off of. Now you have the bank statement, your personal bank statement, right, to show that the deposit came in. And you have the canceled check. So if you did 100% paying you, friends, that's all you needed to submit. So let's just say that your PPP was 150,000 and below. So you filled out the 3508S form. That's all the documentation you needed. You submit that to the bank. That's an easy one. You submit that to the bank. Bank has 60 days. The bank comes back to you and says, "Oh, this looks good." Then the bank sends it to us at the SBA. We have 90 days. So if you're doing your math quick in your head, that's 5 months, right? Before officially you can hear. Now the SBA is working kind of fast. So some companies were here within 2 weeks. Some have been heard in 4 weeks that they've been forgiven. But per the legislation, it could actually take up to 5 months to hear back for your forgiveness, okay? So don't call me and say, "Rod, where am I in the forgiveness process?" And you're only in week 2, because I've had that. I've had people call me and it's only been 2 weeks. So remember, it can take up to 5 months, okay, for the forgiveness process. So I just want to let you know that I did put my email in the chat for you guys. So it's better to email me than to call me, because I tell you, I get dizzy with all the phone calls that I get. So now I'm telling people, just email me. Plus, if you email me, then I may have a presentation or some information that I can cut and paste that's specific to your question versus calling me, okay? And plus, if you have the email, then you just have it right there in front of you when you're doing whatever it is you need to do with that information. Now, because I don't want to read about you guys in the Washington Business Journal or the Washington Post, I want you to pay attention to how this money is to be used. About 30 minutes before we got on the phone, a guy told me he was paying his personal mortgage with these funds. Okay? No, it was the interest on the commercial mortgage, not his personal mortgage. I told him he better unwind those transactions, okay? Because I told him I was serious. I don't want to read about him in the Washington Business Journal, so he needs to unwind those transactions, okay? So let's go over what the money can be used for. And it has to be in the business name, okay? That's the other thing. It must be in the business name. Rent, lease, interest on the commercial mortgage. And I'm circling and underlining the word commercial mortgage, not residential, okay? PPE, right? You can use it for PPE. And under that PPE, right? So the face mask, you can pay for your employees to go have the COVID-19 testing, yada, yada. Okay, software, QuickBooks, or a CRM, right? Like Salesforce Pro. Fuel, business cell phone, business landline phone, okay? If you had property damage because of the insurrection and your insurance doesn't cover it, okay? Then you can use the money for those expenses that your insurance company did not cover, okay? So I want you to use the operating expenses within the context of the program. Color inside the lines, please. This is not the time to use your imagination. Color within inside the lines here, okay? All right, so if you don't get 100% forgiveness and you get a loan, just remember it's 1%, it's 1% interest. There are no personal guarantees, there's no collateral, there are no prepayment penalties for PPP, okay? And remember, forgiveness is 100% with the proper documentation if you've used the money appropriately. Now, if you got the loan before June 5th, 2020, then you'll have a 2-year payback period. If you receive the loan after June 5th, 2020, then you have a 5-year payback period, okay? Now, I know no one on this presentation will do this. I had a person that said, well, I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. I'm just going to go ahead and take a loan out. And I said, uh-oh, my antennas went up. My antennas went up because what that told me was he didn't use the money for the intended purposes. So what he did was he brought on a business development person, is what he did. And he had used the money to, build a website. And I said, well, you can't use the money for business to hire that $110,000, because I think he told me it was $110,000 business development person. That wasn't the use that for the PPP money. Okay. So I said, that's straight up a loan. And your bank is probably going to tell you that you have a loan and that you're not going to be able to get forgiveness. So remember, just use the program in the way that it's supposed to be used. All right, so now we're going to go to the new EIDL program. Okay. So as you know, we were capped at $150,000. Now, let's see if you can remember from a year and 3 months ago. When the program originally came out, it was supposed to be able to give you a loan amount up to $2 million. Okay, and everybody was happy. Then we had 8 million companies across the US apply for EIDL. And so they took it down to a $150,000 cap. A far cry from 2 million. All right, so a year later, we get a new administrator. She says $150,000 is not enough, and she's taking it up to $500,000. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, have you guys applied for the new EIDL increase? If you got an EIDL already, and if you have not, I'm trying to find my cheat sheet because I thought I had it in front of me to give you the website address, the email address.
Yeah,
so let me see if,
yeah,
go ahead, Eric.
you have a question in here. Until when can I expect the forgiveness for the first PPP being revised or approved?
So what did I just say? 60 days for the bank, 90 days for the SBA, 5 months.
Yep. And the other one was, would you kindly repeat the comparison dates used to show the 25% reduction?
All right, so I gave an example. June 30, 2019, June 30, 2020. Or you can pick March 31st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. Or you can choose September 30, 2019, September 30, 2020. It's whichever one you want to choose. Okay, so here we go. I found it. COVID, and it's all one word. COVID EIDL increase request. That's a mouthful. COVID EIDL increase request at sba.gov. Okay, and what you're going to do in the subject line is put increase. Then in the body of the email, your company name, address, telephone number, EIN number. Okay. And oh, by the way, if you have an amount that you want, go ahead and put in that you want that full $500,000. Okay. The only thing they can do is slap you down and say, okay, well, we'll only give you 400 or 300. Now, I hope that you guys have filed your 2019 tax returns. I'm doing too many of these seminars where I'm finding out that people have not filed their 2019 business and personal tax return. Now, you do know that for most of these programs, you have to have your 2019 personal tax returns done. Okay, so please, we're into a new tax season. We're into the 2020 tax season. In fact, what was it, yesterday? Was it yesterday, Eric? That was the last day for you to file your 2020 tax return.
Yeah, the federal.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hoping is for you guys that didn't file your 2019s, that you filed your 2019 and 2020 tax returns together. Okay. Because it's going to be important, because that's what these programs are going to be looking at. And oh, by the way, you're going to have to fill out that 4506T form, right? And what's going to happen? We're going to send it down to the IRS and see if the IRS actually has it, your tax return. because what we're going to do is compare what you sent us to what the IRS has on file for you, okay? So please, let's get these tax returns filed. It is really, really important for you to have those tax returns filed. All right, so now we're up to $500,000. There's a little birdie that's saying that they might take it back up to $2 million. So stay tuned. Maybe Pauline will have me back in another 3 weeks and I can tell you that it's now back up to $2 million, okay? So I hope that's the case, because we have gone from 150 to 500. So maybe it'll go up to back up to 2 million. As we know, the EIDL program lasts until December 31st of this year, okay? So you still have plenty of time to apply, all right? What's the interest rates? We know that for a for-profit is 3.75%, nonprofits 2.75. It's a 30-year loan. There's no grant. It's a 30-year loan. No prepayment penalties, no fees, okay? You know what? How can you use the money? The same way that you use PPP, except you can use the money to pay your vendors. On your balance sheet is called accounts payable. So unlike PPP, you can pay your vendors using the EIDL money, okay? Now, please use the money, even for EIDL, within the confines of what the program says. Do not color outside the lines. Now, the thing I like about EIDL is it doesn't give you that 60-40 split like it does for PPP. So you can use a minimal amount for payroll, and then you can use the rest for your business expenses. This is why I like EIDL. Plus, you got 30 years to pay it back. Versus with PPP, if you get a loan, you only have a 2-year or 5-year repayment period. The other thing I like about EIDL is depending on when you got it, you have an 18-month or 24-month deferment. Can you imagine you get an EIDL loan this year and you don't have to make the first payment for 24 months? Well, here's what I'm thinking. With the economy opening back up again, okay, and you have a 24-month deferment, well, you know what? You have more than enough time for your business to come back. And who knows, you may generate enough revenue and net profit where, you know, you can just go ahead and pay the EIDL loan off before the 24-month deferment period ends, okay? So I like the flexibility that the EIDL loan gives me versus the PPP. That's why I've always liked this program, okay? And of course, the EIDL loan is not forgivable, because I still get a lot of questions on, is the EIDL loan forgivable? Now, there's something called the targeted advance. So with the targeted advance, you have to be in a low to moderate income area, okay? Well, you know, living around here, it seems like that there are not too many low and moderate income areas left around here, because with all the building and things that are going on, you know, neighborhoods and commercial districts are just, you know, becoming more high end now. But anyway, you have the targeted advance. And if your business is located in a low to moderate income area, then you can get the targeted advance, okay? Targeted advance at SBA.gov. That's where you go to get all the information about the targeted advance. Also, let me give you the 800 number for EIDL, 800-659-2955. So that way, don't call me, all the guys directly down there in Texas, okay? Because they can tell you where you are in the queue. So don't call me, because I won't be able to tell you at all. All right, here's the other web email address, disaster customer service. Disaster customer service at SBA.com. Now I'm gonna pause there a minute. I see something where somebody says, if you got an EIDL loan, but hesitated to accept it, why would you hesitate to accept the EIDL loan? All right, so I'm gonna keep reading. Then it got closed this past January with 60 days to reopen, which I did. Okay, that's good. But now it's just sitting in processing. All right, so what you're gonna do is email disaster customer service at SBA.gov and find out what's going on. And you're going to call 1-800-659-2955 to see, what's going on with your EIDL loan that is just sitting in processing. Okay. Now, I hope that you're also monitoring your bank account, because a lot of times the deposit will just show up in your account, okay, before they let you know that the money has actually been put in the account. Okay, so always check your account daily, all right, to see if the money has showed up. So I see Eric's hand is up. You have a question?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions. Can I hand it over to you?
Yeah.
All right. So someone asked how to apply for the EIDL. So I just cut and paste that link into the chat room.
Good.
So you guys you click on that and you can see the web link to go and apply for the EIDL. The other question is, are the county SBA grants eligible for sole proprietors 1099s? The person couldn't complete the application, so it asks for employer stuff like the money paid to unemployment or employee taxes.
So wait a minute. So, all right. So if you have employees, then you should be filing a 941 statement that goes to the IRS on a quarterly basis, right? Now, I hope this person is not a do-it-yourselfer, meaning they're not using a payroll company like ADP, Paycheck, Ceridian, Gusto, or any, because.
I think they're a 1099. They're a sole proprietor.
Oh, so they're, okay. All right. So, but that information I just gave you guys is still important, okay? Because with the 941, if you have employees, then that's being used to actually come up with your loan amount for PPP. Now, if you're a 1099, single member LLC, or a sole proprietor, here is the formula. It's line 7 on the Schedule C, divided by 12 times 2.5. Okay. Line 7, gross income. See, I told you need to bring your pen and paper for this session. So it's line 7, gross income, divided by 12 times 2.5. If you are a restaurant, hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, right? Remember that song from the 70s? All right. I'm dating myself. But it's line 7 divided by 12 times 3.5. Okay. Line 7, gross income, divided by 12 times 3.5. You have the formula. So now you don't even have to depend on the bank to tell you how much they're going to give you. You know it because you did the simple division and multiplication to come up with your loan amount. It's really that easy, guys. Okay. So yes, you can apply for PPP. Yes, you can. Okay. Now, I think I saw something in the chat where they asked if the EIDL advance is forgivable. The advance is a grant. Yep. There's nothing to forgive. No Hail Marys to do, right? So yes, it's forgivable because, I mean, it's a grant. So you don't have to worry about doing anything. You just have to be located in a low to moderate income area. That's it. And then you're good. Now,
and the last question is, hi, Rod, this is great information. While I'm waiting for forgiveness on the PPP, am I paying the loan?
No. You don't know if you have a loan until you find out if you're forgiven partially or wholly, right? Obviously, if you're given wholly, there's no loan. If you're forgiven partially, then the bank will inform you that you do have a loan. So no, just relax. Let's see, I was told sole proprietors were only eligible for a max of 20, what?
Yeah.
$20 for PPP, huh? No, I just gave you the formula. I gave you the formula for a sole prop, right? Line 7 divided by 12 times 2.5. If you're a hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, line 7, gross income divided by 12 times 2.5, 3.5, excuse me. Yes. Why is this person telling me it's not applicable to a sole proprietor? Yes, it is, because you're filing a Schedule C. Right. You're filing a 1040 with a Schedule C. So if you're sole prop and you're doing business, you're filing a Schedule C. That formula works.
Yeah, that might be a very specific situation going on there. So
they only received their first draw before the dollars ran out. Well, at least you got the first draw. Okay. Now, I'm not so sure that Congress is going to appropriate more money to PPP. They probably will, which I'll come to in a minute, the Restaurant Rescue Fund. I don't see it happening for PPP at all, because we've already spent almost $800 billion on that program, almost $800 billion. I think their appetite is getting less and less for PPP when you spend $800 billion, okay? All right, so that's EIDL. Now let's talk about the SVOG, because I'm doing these in order, right? So we did EIDL, PPP, now we're doing SVOG. My same comment applies, because I got some of these people calling me and saying, how can I use the money? Okay. I'll repeat, even for SVOG, payroll, rent, utilities, mortgage. Now, here's the good thing about that. With SVOG, I think you can use principal and interest. Advertising expenses, state and local cost, okay? So those are the expenses for SVOG. Now, the other thing is in order, right? So they are prioritizing who gets the money, okay? So if you had a 90% decrease, okay, in your revenue between 2019 and 2020, you get first priority. Second priority, 70% decrease in revenue between 2019 and 2020, okay? And then the last priority, 25% decrease in revenue between 2019 and 2020. So that's the priority, 90% first, 70%, and then 25%, okay? Now, if you need to know more, it's SVOGRANT at SBA.gov. So SVO grant, all one word, at SBA.gov. It'll tell you everything you need to know. It'll also give you the 100 number to call to see where you are in the queue. Don't call me. Don't call the district office, because they have handcuffed us from assisting you. So they want you to go out to SVO grant at SBA.gov, find out where you are in the queue. For some reason, if you made a mistake on the application, you know, the 800 number there that they have, those guys will help you, okay? Now, your loan amount, because that should have been a question coming from you guys, the loan amount is 45% of your 2019 revenue. There goes that 2019 tax return again, okay? 45% of your 2019 revenue will be your loan amount. So that's easy. That's an easy calculation, okay? So you don't have to wait for the SBA to tell you how much you're gonna get. You'll be telling the SBA how much you're gonna get, okay? So that's your SVOG in a nutshell. 90, 70, 25, that's the priority, okay? You know what expenses to use it, what money, how to use the money for expenses. You have I've given you the website that'll have the 800 number there for you to call and ask them any and everything that you want to ask them. There's plenty of funding for this program, plenty of funding. Now, you know what? I need to go back a minute. I need to go back to PPP, because there's a nuanced question that you guys should have asked me. Is the PPP money out of money? Is the PPP program out of money? Well, it depends. Because if you are a woman, a veteran, socially and economically disadvantaged, there's a little money over in the cut, right? There was $8 billion set aside for those designations. But you can only go to CDFIs to get that money. All the other systems are closed down for PPP, okay? But if you are a woman, a veteran, socially or economically disadvantaged, out of that $8 billion, as of this morning, there was $6.2 billion left for people for those designations, okay? But you have to go to Washington Area Community Investment Fund. You have to go to the Latino Economic Development Corp. You have to go to Harbor Bank in Baltimore. You know, you have to go to City First Bank on U Street. All these are CDFIs, okay? And if I've missed some, forgive me. But those are the ones that come to me at the top of my head, okay, that are CDFIs. In fact, one of the CDFIs emailed me about 3 o'clock and asked me how much money is left. And I told her, keep lending, honey, keep lending. We still got $6.2 billion. Keep lending, keep the portal open, all right? So if you fall into one of those groups, please go ahead for your second draw and apply. Do not sit on the sidelines. Now, the program closes down on May 31st, period. Whether there's money left in it or not, okay, it closes down on May 31st. What's today, the 20th? So you have, what, 11 days? You got 11 days left, and that's including weekends. So go get the money. Do not get off the sidelines and go get the money. And go get the money so you can enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, okay? You go ahead and apply. They tell you you're getting $200,000 for your business, and then you can go relax at Dewey Beach or, you know, at the Bottle and Cork or wherever you relax in Delaware, okay? All right, so that's the PPP. Now, we're going to come up to date to the Restaurant Rescue Fund, right? That was getting a lot of buzz, okay? And that portal opened on May 3rd, okay? May 3rd. And it was part of what Rod calls the Biden-Harris Act. Officially, what it's called is the American Rescue Plan Act. That's what it's officially called. But it was President, you know, Biden and Vice President Harris that actually rammed it through Congress and got it approved, okay? $28.6 billion for this fund. And if you were on any of my other presentations, I told you that we'd be lucky if the money lasts until May 31st. Well, we ran out of money on May 17th, okay? So we received a lot of applications. I think, I know it's well over 200,000 applications. I almost want to say we almost received about 300,000 applications, okay, for this fund. Now, of course, you're going to ask me who's eligible. Restaurants, food stands, food trucks, food carts, caterers, bars, saloons, taverns, okay? Bakeries, brew pubs, tasting rooms, tap rooms, breweries, microbreweries, inns. So you get a gold star if you can answer this question. What's the difference between a bed and breakfast and an inn? Does anybody know? And so if a bed and breakfast qualifies, it's going to be a very nuanced reason why a bed and breakfast qualifies. But who knows the difference? Pauline, do you know the difference between a bed and breakfast and an inn? You're on mute.
I will say a bed and breakfast is allowed to serve one meal a day, which is breakfast, which an inn is not. Do I get any points?
That is absolutely correct. She gets the gold star, okay? Twinkle, twinkle. So now, here's the nuance. If for some reason the bed and breakfast, right, has on-site sales of food and beverage to the public, where 33% of their revenue, gross revenue, right, represents food and beverage, then they're in. They can get this money, okay? So that's the nuance for the bed and breakfast and the inn. That's the nuance for both of those. But Pauline is correct. So usually at a bed and breakfast, you get breakfast and then you're on your own, right? For lunch and dinner. The inn, you get food all day long. You get stuffed, okay? That's generally primarily the difference. But you do have some bed and breakfasts that will do all three, okay? But 33% of their gross receipts must be sales of food and beverage, just so you know. All right, so that's who's eligible, okay? Now, how much funding? You can get up to 5 million per location, not to exceed 10 million. So you could have 20 locations, okay, which is fine, but you're only going to get up to $10 million. Now, excuse me, you're going to be ineligible if you can't get a minimum of $1,000 through this program. So the minimum is $1,000. Unlike PPP, you could get, $500. But this one, minimum is $1,000. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Here's the question I get a lot. Bankruptcies. Okay. Bankruptcies. If I'm bankrupt or filing for bankruptcy, can I still get money? All right, I want you to hear these two words because it's nuanced. The two words are approved and filed, okay? So if you just filed, you are ineligible, okay? If you just filed a Chapter 11, 12, 13, you are ineligible. But listen to the second word, approved. But if you have an approved plan of reorganization under a Chapter 11, 12, or 13, you are eligible, okay? You're eligible. So it makes a difference, approved or filed, whether or not you're ineligible. And of course, if you filed a Chapter 7, you're ineligible, okay? You just are. So now you know what the rules are for bankruptcy, okay? Because I get that question a lot. Okay. Any questions out there in the chat, Eric?
No, sir. We're just the only thing that's there is someone asked. Someone actually did answer the question about the difference between the bed and breakfast and the inn. So it made it Chuck. Chuck also Chuck also wins the prize. The other question was, can I post the link of CDFIs? And my response was, CDFIs are just they're localized, and to have an actual list of CDFIs, just pretty much go online and see if you can do a search there, because they're all over the country.
Yes, yes. Now, who's ineligible? Obviously, a publicly traded company is ineligible. If the restaurant or tap room is permanently closed, nonprofits, and if you can't get $1,000, you're ineligible, okay? If it's a state or local government operated business, I think in Montgomery County, is this still ABC that runs the liquor stores? I think they still do. All right, so they would be ineligible, okay? So those are your ineligible entities. Pauline, you should know the answer to that. All right, so now the forms of organization. So of course, if you're C Corp, S Corp, sole proprietor, 1099, okay, tribal business, you're all eligible, okay? So don't let what type of organization be a stumbling block for you, because I want you to go get the money. Franchises are eligible. You just go to the SBA franchise directory, okay, see if your franchise is on there, and 9 out of 10 times, I'm pretty sure it will be, you're eligible. Now, if you go out there and you don't see your franchise out there, send your documents to franchise@sba.gov. Send all your franchise paperwork to franchise@sba.gov. The SBA will review it and get back to you, okay? So that's what you do for the franchise. Now, here is how this program interacts with the other programs. And I've already talked about it. If you have a PPP, the PPP is going to be backed out of the RRF money. If you have a PPP in process, then you need to withdraw it, okay? You cannot have a SVOG and an RRF. So if you have an SVOG in process, you need to withdraw it, okay? You can't have the SVOG and the RRF, okay? You can't. You got to choose one or the other, okay? You can't get greedy. Now, what I'm going to stop on is the eligible uses of the funds, okay? You know, I'm kind of serious about not reading about you guys in the newspapers. All right, so here's what you can use the money for. Construction of outdoor seating. So you can do that, okay? But here's the nuance. You can't use the money to expand. You can't use it for expansion costs. That's ineligible. Now, what I do like about this in terms of business debt, unlike PPP and EIDL, where you can only use it for the interest on your commercial mortgage, with this program, you can pay principal and interest, okay, on your commercial mortgage. Also, if you have a line of credit, term loan, equipment loan, business automobile loan, okay, you can use this money to pay principal and interest on those loans, okay? If you recall, under PPP and EIDL, you can't use the money for that. You can only, okay? So I like the expanded use of the money for this business debt. I think it's great. All right, you got your hand up there, Eric.
There were two things. One was, and this is just this is a question. Are the PPP funds still available for nonprofit organizations?
No, because you don't fit in one of those 4 categories.
Right. And I think, let's see. One of the topics, I mean, you mentioned the SVOG and you mentioned the Restaurant Relief Fund.
Yes.
One of the things that you and I were talking about with Pauline was, should businesses actually do a comparison to see, you know, which will benefit them in terms of the food industry, which grant would benefit them from a comparison basis, and do you recommend them doing that?
Yes. You do need to do the comparison to see where you're going to get more bang for your buck. Okay, so do the comparison, and that's the same with PPP. Do you get more with PPP, or do you get more with RRF? Okay, so you need to do the comparison among these programs to see where you can maximize the money that you receive. Okay, and for the most part, I've given you the and I'll give you actually one of the formulas for the RRF. Okay, which again, you're going to need your 2019 tax returns. There's a reason I keep harping on it. All right, let's finish the business expenses. Payroll costs, including sick leave, business utility payments, business maintenance expenses, supplies include, you know, the PPE stuff, right? All right, business food and beverage expenses, including raw materials, covered supplier costs, insurance, marketing, licenses, legal fees, point of sale equipment. Okay, so you got some pretty, I mean, you got pretty broad category of how you can use this money, okay, for this program, from this program. But remember what I said earlier about PPP and EIDL, color inside the lines, don't go outside the lines and, you know, use the money to buy a 35-foot boat yacht that you're gonna, you know, dock down there on the Alexandria waterfront, okay? Don't buy the Lamborghini, okay? Don't buy the farm down in Woodstock, Virginia, the 20-acre farm in Woodstock, Virginia, off of 81. That's not the eligible use of the money. And by the way, those are live examples, people. All right, so just keep that in mind. Now, don't think that you're going to get this RRF money and not be accountable, because just like PPP, you're going to have to show documentation on how you use the money. Now, with this fund, you have almost 2 years to use the money. March 11th, 2023 is the date. Almost 2 years to use the money once you get it. That's a long runway to have to use the funds, okay? So if you find, after you do the math, that this program is more advantageous to you from a dollar standpoint, take advantage of it, because you got 2 years to use the money. All right, so let's look at the calculation. Uh-oh. Is this one of those things I'm gonna have to do off the top of my head? Yes, it is. All right. So with RRF, what we're gonna do is take 20, here we go, that 2019 again. 2019 minus 2020 revenues, right? Minus, which I already talked about, the PPP. And there's your loan amount, okay? 2019 gross revenues minus 2020 minus the PPP amount is your loan amount, okay? So you got the formulas. So you got the formula for PPP, you got the formula for RRF, okay? And you got the formula, frankly, for the SVOG. So now you know how much money you're going to receive, you know, without the SBA or the bank telling you how much you're going to receive, because you know the formulas already, okay? So that's a good thing. So actually, I'll just close with that. And look, guys, I said I only had about 15 or 20 minutes worth of material, and here we are, what? It's like almost 5 minutes to 6.
So Peggy has a question. Peggy?
Yes.
Hello, I'm Peggy Anderson from Washington County, Maryland. Thank you. I have a question. So I'm listening to him, and how much money will we be receiving? It's sounding like a big loan, a big giant lump sum or something.
Well, I mean, you got to apply the formulas, right? To
Yeah.
find out how much money you're going to get.
Oh, because he said you had 2 years. to
You
spend it.
say that we have 2 years to spend it. That's a long time.
Oh, okay. So the length of time for the, RRF fund, yes, they're giving you 2 years to spend the money. Yes,
But they should be using it for the mortgage and employees.
right? So, you know, just like PPP, where at one point they gave you 8 weeks to use the money, then they expanded it to 24 weeks because businesses were having a hard time using it in 8 weeks. So they expanded it to 24. So it's kind of a takeoff of that. That now they're saying, okay, we're going to give you 2 years to use the money.
Wow.
But it should be used on mortgages and like daycare expensive, like food and supplies, correct?
The stuff I talked about. Yeah.
Right, okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
All right. Don't invite me on that 35-foot yacht now.
We also had a request for advice from you, Rod. So the SBA invited us to EIDL, an EIDL increase request. When we responded with the requirements they sent us to complete the online form, it shows denied. When requested for clarification, SBA keeps sending another invitation. Any advice as to what could be happening there?
Huh. Well, did they give you a reason for the decline? All right,
They didn't
so
say.
normally, all right, the biggest reason for the decline is because with EIDL, they do pull personal credit, okay? And I think you have to have a 590 or above for personal credit for that program. That's the biggest reason it gets declined. But you need to find out from them why it did get declined.
Someone just posted, they think it's 570 is the minimum.
It was 570. I thought they raised it to 590.
Okay.
But either way, you need to find out why it got declined.
Yep. And what I did, I posted the PPP formula, which was line 7
Yeah.
of the Schedule C divided by 12, and then that entire number times 2.5.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
that's the formula.
yep, I think you mentioned for the restaurant it was 3 times 3.5.
Yes, it's 3.5 for restaurants.
Yep.
Yes,
Wanna make sure
2.5 for regular businesses.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's a credit, a distinction there. So the person said their credit score is well above 570.
Yeah.
So there's
It's-
something else happening there.
Yeah, so something else happened. So you need to find out why the decline. But just use the email address I gave you, which was what? Disaster Customer Service at SBA.gov, or the 1-800 number, and call and give them your EIDL number and find out, why you were declined.
Yep. Let's see. Who was the CDFI that asked if they can still lend money?
What was the question again?
Who was the CDFI that asked if they can still lend money?
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't tell you that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I figured.
yeah, I can't tell you that, but I gave you the names of who are the ones that are still lending.
Right. Yep. And we don't we don't have any more questions in the chat room. And someone said, what's that list again? Well, let's see. The list is actually, if you scroll up, someone actually cut and paste the CDFI list.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna try to, let's see if I can repost it for you. And then we'll just we'll
But
figure
for
it out.
all of these, go get the money before, particularly, well, as we saw, we only had 17 days for the RRF. Okay. You saw that we ran out of money for PPP, except for if you fit into one of those designated classes. Okay. EIDL runs until December 31st, and the SVOG seems to be holding up pretty well, meaning that it doesn't seem to be running out of money anytime soon.
Yeah. So so this the list of CDFIs, as we mentioned before, you certainly you could use that link, but that's a huge Excel spreadsheet. But you certainly want to do a local search. So if you go to your web browser and do a local search of your CDFIs locally, you'll probably get a better list, and you'll see a list of websites that you can do a search on for CDFIs. Let's see. So yeah, that would be my recommendation there. Okay.
So in 3 weeks, we'll come back. We'll find out if we got more funding for RRF. We'll come back and see if the EIDL got raised to 2 million from 500,000, which I know the business owners would love. Okay. And then who knows, even though I don't think Congress has a stomach to give any more money to PPP, maybe their mood will change and, throw another 50 billion at it.
We'll see.
We're almost at what's $1 trillion these days? We've already spent 7.
Yeesh. Yikes.
We've already spent 7.
Yeah.
So guys, it was great. You have my email address, roderick.johnson@sba.gov, in the chat. You can email me it's better actually to email me than to call me, because I respond faster to the emails, because it's easier for me to go right down the list, answer the question, attach any presentations that need to be attached to answer your questions, or I may pull something out of the standard operating procedure or the procedural notice that answers your question, and then you'll have it right there in front of you for whatever you need it for. So it's roderick.johnson@sba.gov. And so I look forward to hearing from you guys. And then hopefully, 3 weeks, is that just before the pitch, Eric, the pitch contest?
Yes, the pitch is July 15th. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. So yeah. So then if Pauline will have me back and Eric will have me back in 3 weeks, then I can give you the update.
That's not it. Sounds like a plan, Pauline.
You're on mute.
Would love to have you back.
Okay. All
And
right.
Pauline, one of the questions in here for you is the most common question that we get asked every week. What is the link for the presentation that's going to be posted on the website?
Can you go here? I'll type in our BUI website. BUI.
And we do have a poll requesting, yep, there it is, buoychamber.org. We do have a poll that Pauline's going to post, so we're about to end. So
Put it up now while we're talking.
Sure. Well,
Okay.
yeah, like I mentioned earlier, next week we're going to have Kessie on, and she is going to be talking about managing the mood of clients and customers and employees, sorry, in your business. So that's a really good one. And Kessie really does a great job in that particular webinar. So we look forward to having everyone back next week. So Pauline, it's all yours. And there's the poll. So we
There's
can
the
fill
poll.
that out.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. And if you could take a moment and answer the exit poll questions. And for those of you who've been here every week, it's a standard polling questions. It's just so we kind of can measure what we're doing and how well we're doing. But again, it's another formative interview and webinar series by 1917. Thank you, Rod. Always a pleasure. The Chamber really appreciates how you step up to the plate and you're available for one-on-one counseling sessions or the webinars, and really thank you for going above and beyond. And also, Eric, you're always going above and beyond, always a phone call away from me. So thank you. And now more than ever, we need our business plans and strategies. So I'm looking forward to next week to have a little bit more business plan and strategy planning session. So thank you all. And this concludes our event. And we'll feel free to sign out after you answer the polling questions. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Bye.
All right, Rod, great job, man. As always.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was good. This is really good.
Hello, I'm sorry. This is Samantha. I'm still on. How are you all?
Hey, Samantha.
Hey, I signed on a little late. I have a childcare business. Let me write down Roderick's email address again so I can contact him. I'm not going to be a bugaboo, Roderick.
Do you have it? It's Roderick, Roderick.
Wait a minute, Roderick.
Yeah, Roderick dot Johnson at SBA.gov.
Okay. Okay, I'll email him and ask the questions. Okay, thank you all so much. How do I sign on for every week? I just received the email yesterday for this class. I'm a childcare provider in PG County.
Pauline?
Okay, so if you, where did you receive your email from? Because you register through Eventbrite every week, and they usually come out from BIC, and then the Chamber also sends out a link. So I guess the easiest thing for you to do is if you contact me, give me your email address, I will put you on our constant contact list, and then you'll get the registration link.
Okay,
Tomorrow,
great. You want me to put
the
in the
email should
text,
come out.
in the group, in the chat, my information?
Or you can send it privately to me if you don't want everybody in the chat to see it.
Okay, and you're Paulina.
Oh,
Pauline.
okay, so go, next, Paulina.
You Miss Chamber, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm putting it in now.
Okay.
Because I have some questions regarding the targeted. It's been, they say it's processing, but it's been processing for a long time.
So,
And every time I called them, no one has an answer.
yeah, I'm not sure because I'm completely out of that process. So you
Okay.
have to deal with those guys down there in Texas.
Okay, no problem.
That's the
Okay.
same that I'm having.
And also when I did the PPP through my bank with Navy Federal for the second draw, they had it from April the 22nd instead of SBA. Then they tell me they couldn't do it and I found out the funds were exhausted. So I went through Womply, and yesterday I signed up with Womply, and now Womply, I'm at I'm moving good. That's all I can say. I can see some action moving.
Well, that's good. Did you withdraw the application from the other financial institution?
No, I supposed to do that? Because I was
Yes,
told the SBA would kick it out.
that's absolutely correct. You were told correct.
Oh, so what I need to do?
Withdraw it from the original lender.
Okay, so I need to go to, okay. See, I was on another call one time and they said, oh, if you sign up with several people, once the SBA be ready to view it, they would kick it out. And now it kept asking me for my bank information. So that might be why.
So go ahead and
Yeah, I'm getting ready to log
undo
in
the
now.
other application,
Okay, thank you.
because toward the end, it's going to kick out. We don't want that.
Right, okay. Thank you so much. And I can review this starting on next Monday. I can look over this video again, this Zoom.
Yes, ma'am. I should have it posted tomorrow by close of business, but to be safe, it really go for Monday. It looks
Okay.
great. And I'm getting ready to put you into our constant contact. Now, I want to say that they email out at about 10 o'clock on Friday morning. So just make sure you check your spam filter, just since it's the first one coming through.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you. And you can always call the chamber too if you have a question.
Okay, the chamber.
Here, you know what?
What's the number?
301-26. And then, there we go. And there's the email address.
You put it in the chat?
I did. So it's in the chat, the phone number and the email
Oh,
address.
yeah, yep,
Oh, I don't see, let's see.
it's there.
And-
Why I don't see it, you all?
okay, it's 301
Mm-hmm,
262
262
0920.
0920.
And then it's info, INFO at Bowie, our town, and then chamber, CHAMBER.org.
Okay, thank you, Miss Weaver, because she said she doesn't see it either.
Yeah.
Because it was something
I
else you
see
said.
it.
Okay, here it is now. I see info from Eric. I see it from Eric. Okay, there it is. It's all coming in through Eric. Okay.
All
All
right,
right, well, let
here
me
we go.
log in and cancel this from Navy Federal. Thank you so much once again, and you all have a good
Yep.
evening.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna hit
Okay.
the pause record button. Y'all have a good evening.